G'day there is another video in my home Tarka series, Tarka home series, and we can see here that I've set up some stones in the key squares that the center squares, the vital squares of each of your enemy's half of the board, and obviously the center is very vital. And these center squares can be very vital to control that territory. And so what we can see here is I've set up like a basic position from a game plan. We'll go into this at another stage. And so let's just have a look and break down this position quickly. What we've strived for is we've strived for balance in the position. All right, what I like to call good posture. Now, that means we have forces that can swing to either side, to the right or to the left. We have the center, and we're occupied by all four pawns supported by the squires, and the gargoyles have a connection, and they have a track on the third line here. And we can see it's very flexible. What we did to one side, we did to the other side. And we can see the king is very safe. And these gargoyles can each choose a flare out on either side that can't be easily accessed by diagonal pieces, which can harass them. And also they can swing together. They can flare to the right, or they can flare to the left and work down that route. And so it's very, very flexible. And the royals can go into the center. They can go to the left. They can go to the right, or they can split. So there's so many options about where the royals can go, and there's nothing stopping using the Mariana Trench here as a highway for your pieces. And we can see that the knights are nicely connected together. And can work together really nicely. And so that's it. Now, for that breakdown, okay, of the position, other than to say that the bishop and archers are flaring out wide as well, supporting the driving of the squires. All right, wide as well. Okay, so also supporting a blitz through the center if necessary. And there's still plenty more pawns that can be added to the fray as needed, and the rooks can become connected very quickly. All right, so, and the king is very safe here. Okay, so what I'm talking about with balance, it has to do with the center of gravity, in the sense that gravity is to do with the mass or the numbers of pieces that you have in the center. So we can actually see where this is your center of gravity right here. So if you start punching out to the left, or you start punching out to the right, you want to make sure that your center is very strong. And if you start creating an imbalance, if you start flooding a zone, to a certain zone, you want to make sure that your center is strong. An attack down the flank is met by a reaction in the center. So you want to make sure that your gravity, or your center of gravity, is very balanced. You don't want to over-attack on either flank and be punished through a blitz through the center. So also one of the reasons you do attack down the flank is to draw forces away from the center. So there's a certain gravity or that pulls pieces back to the center. When you've traveled wide with a piece, there's a certain pull that pulls it back to the center. And there's a certain number of pulls that pulls it into the center squares of that zone. So that's it. I just wanted to just sort of touch on that concept of gravity, how pieces just get drawn, pulled into the center. There's a constant pull that wants to bring them back to the center because it's where they're the most active, the most powerful. So you don't want to, if you do imbalance one side of the board with your pieces to attack down that flank, always consider your center and make sure that you have a very balanced center of gravity, because you can always pull back with your attack back to the center. And we can see, with these sorts of pieces, how quickly they can get into the center of a zone, but never underestimate swinging back to the center. It can be very, very beneficial for you to return to the center. So that's it in a nutshell. The center of gravity. Don't imbalance yourself in your attacks. Always remember that pull that keeps reconsolidating and re-centralizing. All right. Take care all. The center of gravity.